We are in between games, so we'll break down the Sabres' opening night win over the Ottawa Senators, and we'll look ahead a little bit to Saturday afternoon's game with the Florida Panthers coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including our YouTube channel. Be sure to check us out on our Locked On Sabres YouTube channel. Like and subscribe us there. And be sure to do the same thing. Drop a review wherever you may be listening, Spotify, Odyssey, or Apple Podcasts. Joe DiBiase on the show at Sneaky Joe Sports at Locked On Sabres to hit us up on social media. We are between games, so a little bit of a recap here, just a bit of a look ahead to Saturday afternoon's game with the Florida Panthers. It is another home game, a 1 o'clock puck drop before the Sabres with a very early West Coast trip. They have a bunch of late games. Sabres After Dark gets started quick this season. So that's coming next week. But how about that opener against the Ottawa Senators? We're going to break it all down here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. I got an award to give out. I'm still workshopping the name a little bit. Kind of goes along with player of the night, but goat head of the night, playing off the word goat a little bit. Goat head, black and red hat, by the way. Gotta represent the R&B generation of Sabre fans. That was cool. If you saw my tweet, walking into the Sabre store, and like half the shop is black and red gear. I almost spent $1,000 in one night just on gear. It was an awesome night to be in the building. There was a really good atmosphere. There was 16,000 fans. I think it was just under that. 15,600 was maybe the announced crowd. And it felt like it. It felt like the building was full. It felt like an NHL hockey game, which that might not be saying much, but we've had plenty of games in the past and months of hockey at a time where it just feels like they don't even exist. They're not even in the league. It feels like minor leagues at some points. Last night felt like a legit game, an event to be at. And the crowd was pumped up. The crowd was energetic from beginning. The RJ starts off the festivities up on the Jumbotron with you can't get rid of me that quickly. And then the whole building goes nuts. So that was really cool. I thought they did all the pregame festivities really well, especially with the honoring the victims' families from the Tops shooting over the summer. The Sabres did a really good job with that. The moment of silence, the Ottawa Senators taking part in that as well. The ceremonial face-off, the video that Kyle Poso took part in, and all the other stuff the Sabres put together. The drum, Sabretooth with the drum at center ice got the crowd into it with the Let's Go Buffalo chant right away. The video was really cool, and I'm not just saying that the hype video that they put on the Jumbotron was cool because I was in it for 3 seconds, but it was a really good job, I thought, by the Sabres in general. And the atmosphere, again, was really good. And the Bills players being in attendance, that's when the crowd probably popped the most, is when they showed Josh Allen. Maybe they could have shown Josh once or twice more. You find if you're a DJ at a Sabre game and you're deciding what to put up on the Jumbotron, your whole goal is just to get the crowd fired up. Allen's like a cheat code. Just put him on the screen for 4 seconds. You don't even have to have any sound with it, and the whole building's going to erupt. But it was really cool. Allen wearing a Tuck jersey in attendance. Dawson Knox, Matt Barkley, I think Tommy Sweeney, all there as well. 4-1. Sabres over the Ottawa Senators. A great start to the season against an opponent that the Sabres will be competing with in the standings all year. And they start ahead. They start with a bit of a head start over the Senators. 2 points for them, 0 for Ottawa after just one game. Some of the stats to go through from this game. The Sabres and the Senators were very evenly matched on the box score. 36 shots on goal for Ottawa, 36 shots on goal for Buffalo. And it felt that way. It felt like a back and forth affair. Ottawa had their chances. The Sabres certainly had their chances. They kept up all the way through, even in the first period when Ottawa had the first goal and they got down 1-0. The Sabres responded right away with some chances of their own. I thought they did a really good job just in general of keeping pace, getting their chances, taking chances, and kind of getting, Craig Anderson bailed them out at times, right? Like the Sabres made some mistakes. Owen Power, I thought, made a lot of mistakes in this game. but he did have some nice plays, and he was playing with Henry Jokiharju, and Jokiharju I thought was a little tough in this game. So that pairing, little cause for concern, I must say, after one game, and we maybe already might have thought that a little bit because Jokiharju has had such a poor year and a half here that if he's going to be Power's full-time pairing partner, how is that going to go? Through one night, not too well. They were by far the worst pairing for the Sabres on the night. Shot attempts in this game. I mentioned the shots were completely even, right? At 5-on-5, shot attempts were 40-40. So exactly the same. Scoring chances for 18-18. Okay. So high danger scoring chances is the one area where Ottawa had a slight edge, 11-8. But otherwise, like this was two evenly matched teams, and both teams could be a lot better. So this could mean both teams are going to be teams that are competing for playoff spots, but it could also mean they're both terrible. It could also mean nothing because it's only one game, of course. So the Sabres statistically very evenly matched with Ottawa, but they get the 4-1 score. 2 empty net goals. It's going to inflate it a little bit. There's a 2-1 hockey game all the way through. Victor Olofsson gets 2 empty netters at the end. Brady Tkachuk opening the scoring for Ottawa in the first period. The Sabres respond. JJ Peterka with a goal, assisted by Peyton Krebs and Dylan Cozens. And then the second goal for the Sabres was Rasmus Dahlin, a play that he starts in his own end, carries the puck through the neutral zone, sets them up in the zone, goes to the front of the net, and has a really nice finish on a good feed from Peyton Krebs. So statistically on the night, the only player that did have more than 1 point was Victor Olofsson with the 2 empty net goals. But otherwise, JJ Peterka gets the goal, his first of his NHL career, and it was a pretty one. We'll break that down, by the way, as our play of the game. We'll break that down coming up in just a little bit here. So Peterka gets a goal, Olofsson with the 2 empty netters, Dahlin gets a goal, and then players that got assists in this game, Ilya Lyubushkin, Kyle Okposo, Peyton Krebs, and Dylan Cozens. In net, Craig Anderson stops 35 of 36. Really solid performance from him. Power play stats in this game. Both teams stunk. Both teams were 0 for 4. The Sabres were not good in this game in terms of the power play. They had a lot of trouble getting set up, and they struggled. They struggled, and that's going to have to improve a lot going forward. But if I could give out the award, the first annual or the first weekly award here, GOAT head of the night, the best player on the night for the Buffalo Sabres was certainly, in my opinion, Dylan Cozens. Dylan Cozens was dominant. He was carrying the puck well. He was setting people up. He was creating scoring chances for himself. One of their only power play opportunities they had all night was a wrist shot from Cozens from the high slot. He was great. He was trying moves that I never see Cozens try. There was one in the third period where he puts it behind his own back, and without even looking, he grabs it on the other side, puts it to the point man, who gets a great scoring chance. Cozens was great. I thought he was the Sabres' best overall player. Very close second, though, JJ Peterka. JJ Peterka was dynamite. He looked electric. He was fast. He was handling the puck well. Stick handles were super quick. Great vision with his passes. That give and go that he scores the goal with, that he ends up scoring the goal with Cozens, is a great example of that. But there's another play in the third period that you might remember where he's stuck on the ice, or there's a line change because of a power play, and he's out there with Zemgus Girgensons and I think Kyle Okposo, and maybe it was Asplund. But anyways, I know Girgensons on the ice because Peterka's got the puck on the right-hand wall. He's on his backhand, and he's got the vision to pick his head up, see Girgensons coming the other side wide open, and he backhand sauces the pass through a couple of defensemen to the other side right on the tape for Girgensons, who gets a great scoring opportunity. They don't end up scoring, but it's another example of Peterka's offensive awareness, which he certainly showed off in his first game. I thought he was amazing. Only 11 minutes of ice time. He certainly warranted more than that. Rookie, though, first game of the season. You can understand why he only played that much, but he plays like that. He's going to be someone who's playing 16, 17 minutes in some games. So great opening game by JJ Peterka. Players I thought struggle. Oh, one more player that was great that I have to give props to from this game. Rasmus Dahlin. Rasmus Dahlin was dominant in this game. In fact, if you look at his on-ice numbers for this game, scoring chances, Rasmus Dahlin, where are you? Well, 46%. Not actually as high as I thought, but still relatively good. The expected goals for percentage for Dahlin in this game would have been 49.49%. So tough matchup against the other team's first line. It's pretty good. Speaking of the expected goals for marks, by the way, how about that the new log line 2.0? Gergensons, Asplund, and Okposo all over a 70% expected goals for mark. Peyton Krebs, JJ Peterka, Dylan Cozens all over 50%. They all played. Peterka 56%. He was phenomenal. The worst guys in this game were some of the big guns. Tage Thompson did not do much. Not much at all. He had a couple of shots from the outside, but there wasn't much going on in the middle of the ice. He had a painfully low 16% expected goals for. That's a horrific performance by him. Victor Olofsson, similarly, very low, 17%. Jeff Skinner, 22%. Skinner had a lot of turnovers in this game. Olofsson just kind of disappeared. I didn't see a lot of plays from Olofsson that I hated. Thompson made some bad plays. Skinner made a lot of giveaways. So that line, not a great opening night for them, but the other lines definitely picked up the slack. So they got away with it. Owen Power struggled a lot in this game. There were turnovers, and there were turnovers in the Sabres' own end that could have very easily resulted in goals for the Ottawa Senators that did not. So Power, I thought, in this game, a very, very poor performance. That pairing in general, Yoki Haru was not very strong either. Just they both seemed hesitant to want to make that breakout pass. And that's something Yoki Haru has been good at in the past. Power, that should be one of his strengths, is head up, where's the puck supposed to go? Oh, he'll figure out where it's supposed to go, and then he'll put it right on the tape. That was not happening in this game from either guy. So someone's going to have to kind of step up there and be the guy that's going to lead the breakout. And in this game, it seemed like both Yoki Haru and Power were very hesitant to do that. It resulted in turnovers, and it's amazing that it didn't result in more than one goal in their own net. In fact, actually, goals for in the night, Yoki Haru was not on the ice for it. Power was. Power and Samuelson were, but Yoki Haru was not. But anyways, that was kind of my breakdown of a bunch of players that I thought stood out for good or for bad in that game for the Sabres. Ottawa, they were what you expect. DeBrincat had nice plays. Giroux had nice plays. Brady Tkachuk scores the goal. He's their best forward, I think, still. Nothing crazy going on from Ottawa, though. Do you think they probably want more out of that group? If the Sabres are going to play to the same level as Ottawa with their quote-unquote first line, Thompson, Skinner, and Olofsson getting run over, that could be a good sign for the Sabres and a really bad sign for Ottawa, because the Sabres' first line stunk on this game, and they matched you in every statistical category and beat you on the scoreboard. Not a great sign for Ottawa to start the year, and maybe a reason for optimism for Buffalo if, assuming Thompson, Skinner, and Olofsson get going, which it's one game in. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. The play of the night that we're going to break down frame by frame. It's great for our YouTube listeners or watchers, and we'll, of course, make it digestible for our audio listeners as well. So we're going to break down JJ Peterka's first NHL goal when we come back here on the Locked on Sabres podcast with Joe DiBiase. We are brought to you by BetOnline.net, your number one source for football betting information this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. If you're looking for information on the Bills and Chiefs game for Sunday, if you're wondering what Stephon Diggs over-under is for this game, and that could be just to expect, you don't have to bet it. What do people think Diggs is going to get in this game? 71.5. That's a pretty solid performance. What do people think Gabe Davis is going to get in this game after 250 yards and 4 touchdowns, seeing the Chiefs last time they played? A lot of good football betting information. It's helps me for fantasy. I literally, for my fantasy lineup decisions, instead of, this is a more, do I want to call it scientific? Maybe I don't want to call it scientific, but I think a more efficient way to make fantasy lineup decisions. Don't go find some old fantasy website. Go to BetOnline and look at the player props. Look at what the expectation is. If you're deciding between Dolphins running back Raheem Mostert and Najee Harris for this game. The Steelers running back has got a really tough matchup. Go look at their prop bets. Go look at Bet Online and say, ooh, Najee Harris over under 56.5 rushing yards. Raheem Mostert over under 62.5 rushing yards. All right, I'm going to put Mostert in for this game. A lot of fantasy decisions I make are from the odds I get at Bet Online. BetOnline.net. Find it on your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, where the game starts. Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Okay, want to break down a play? Let's break down a play, and let's give out in one of our favorite segments. We're not doing any blame pie today because there was only one goal by Ottawa, and I'm in a good mood, so I don't feel 3 of those, especially the over-under in this game. And we'll talk about Florida a little bit. I know we had Armando Velez on earlier in the week to preview their whole season, so we'll only spend a little bit of time on Florida when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast with Joe DiBiase. Welcome back to the Locked On Sabres podcast. Joe DiBiase. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on today's show. Sabres with a 4-1 win over Ottawa. They are first place in the Atlantic Division. Yes, I'm kidding. 1-0, 4-1 victory over Ottawa at home. And they'll be home again on Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock for Kids Day. It is their first matchup of the season with the Florida Panthers. Florida winning their opening game of the season against, I just had it. Who did Florida beat in their opening game? Sergei Bobrovsky was in net. New York Islanders, 3-1. So Florida also 1-0 on the season with a 3-1 victory. The Panthers are going to be a great team. They're going to be a top 3 team. I think of the teams that are likely to drop out of the Atlantic, I might rank them second as the least likely. Tampa probably the least likely. Florida I might put second because of the Brady Tkachuk or the Matthew Tkachuk trade they make in the offseason, which I really liked for them. Even though Huberdeau was a great player, Weegar was a great player. Tkachuk is amazing. He's my favorite player to watch that is not a Buffalo Sabre. Just a phenomenal player. So back-to-back Tkachuks to start the season for Buffalo. Toronto, by the way, the reason I might put them below Florida is the coach is number 1 in the odds to be the first coach fired. I don't know, pressure on them as there always is. I could see them imploding. They didn't make a lot of big moves in the offseason, but Toronto's not likely either. Boston is the one. If someone's going to drop out, it's going to be Boston. But anyways, in this game, Florida, big expectations, great team, and respectably, than they should be, they are the favorite in this game. The Sabres are plus 160 on the money line to win this game over at Bet Online. Florida minus 190 on the road. That's really impressive. On the road favorite like that. I wouldn't touch the money line either way. The puck line, the Sabres plus a goal and a half, minus 145. Florida minus a goal and a half, plus 125. I would go Sabres on the puck line here at minus 145. I'm getting close to 50-50 odds, not quite 50-50. And if they lose by 1, then of course you win the bet. I think they'll keep it close. They were really impressive to me in opening night, and I could be wrong. They get blown out by Florida. They have been blown out by Florida in the past as recently as last year. But I think the Sabres team is talented. They're young. They're fast. I think they could keep up with the Florida Panthers. And I do believe Eric Comrie will likely be the starter in net for this game. And though Anderson played great in night 1, I think Comrie right now is the Sabres' best goaltender, at least based on the sample size, this limited sample size we saw last season. And then the one I feel most strongly about in this game, the over-under is set at 7. That's a crazy high number. I mean, I get it. Florida scores a lot of goals. The Sabres score a lot of goals. I told you before the Ottawa game, I think I'm going to become an unders guy for this season. And the under hit in night 1 against Ottawa, it was over under 6.5, and we got a 4-1 result, even with 2 empty netters. I was getting a little nervous at the end there. Stop pulling the goalie. This Florida game, 7, I'm going under. I'm going to be betting unders a lot this year, and I'm going to keep at it in this one. So, all right. Florida Panthers, 1 o'clock puck drop at KeyBank Center. I will be in attendance once again. So if you see me, say hi, talk some hockey with you. I love talking hockey with anybody. So thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Now go make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Steel Road and Flip Livingstone bring you the fantasy edge and keep you ahead of the competition with daily updates of news, analysis, and advice Monday through Friday. Available on YouTube, Odyssey, or wherever you get your podcasts. Peace out.